Armour. Hello, welcome to my video. Today we're going to talk about armor types, how they scale, and why they are good and bad. Let's start up with a simple armor set, the first Necromancer armor set. It's classified as a power armor, which means it has a strength bonus in every piece. And since it's such a high level armor, it also has a set effect. Now, why is it called power armor? Why is the other armor called tank armor? And why is there a hybrid armor or tribrid armor? Well, to answer these questions, we just have to look at how they are built. We're currently looking at this crown of the first Necromancer and the rest of the armor set, which are tier 95 armor, but has the stats of a lower tier tank armor, because power armor has reduced armor stats. So why would you take power armor over tank armor? Well, the reason will almost always come back to damage is the best offense, but it's also the best defense. But here we look at the set effect, which is basically that your conjures will do more damage and they will last longer, as well as this armor also having a decent amount of damage bonus per piece. And of course, like any other power armor, tank armor, over the level of 70, you can augment them and put perks in them. Now, if we compare it to the tank armor level 90, which is the highest tank armor for Necromancy, we look at the stats and it has some interesting things. First of all, it has more armor. It has damage reduction. It has life point bonus. And it has a set effect. Now, all of this is very great. The armor makes things splash on you or hit less. Generally a good thing, right? And more life points, sure, useful somewhere. And the dodge chance, yeah, great. Now you'd think all of this is good and well. Well, to be frank, the dodge chance is so small that it's not really going to matter in the big picture if you already know what you're doing and perform good at the boss, know how to deal with mechanics. The dodge chance can just be thrown out the window. There are also some specific bosses, not including the minions, only the specific bosses that completely ignore the dodge effect. This also applies to darkness, which is a passive active effect that you can use with any style. Now, I really recommend to move away from tank armor for the reason mentioned. You want to do more DPS. The armor rating, the damage reduction, and the dodge chance doesn't really matter that much in the big picture. The life point is nice for getting a bonfire boost, because the bonfire buff is based on your life point when you got the bonfire. But in a fight, if you are getting destroyed by a boss, having more total life points is not really going to change the fight and make you perform better. Then it's better to just DPS harder and in emergency bring a power burst of vitality to temporarily double your life points. Now we can look at a hybrid armor, which is this right here, Ghost Hunter. As you can see, it says it's tier 70, and it's a hybrid armor. But if you look at the armor rating, it's tier 55, which means it almost has no defense, no armor, and for sure it has no defensive set effect like dodging or damage reduction. Hybrid armors are generally not used unless they have a good set effect, like Ghost Hunter has or Obsidian has, specifically for Tassar creatures including Harakun, Jads, and Suck. Now, we've spoken a little bit about this, but now we want to compare some things. So I brought the best tank armor from Magic, which is Crypt Bloom, and we're going to equip the full set and talk about it shortly. Because this set effect does a lot of defensive things, and actually, in my opinion, is better than Darkness in every single way. The only thing here is that you are required to wear Magic type, tank type armor pieces for it to work. But if you read the massive tooltip, you see how this works, and if you need more time to read it, you can pause the video, hover over it, or even go to the Wikipedia and read about it. But generally, this armor, in combination with the Animate Dead spell, is really powerful, but it's also a noob trap, because all this damage reduction will make you rely on it to save you. And when you're learning and when you're struggling, this is fine. But when you leave this armor and you leave Anime Dead and you start wearing your power armor, you will notice that you're taking more damage. And you will probably panic or be confused. But don't worry, because most bosses will not hit that hard, and Soul Split, in a lot of cases, is all you need. That and good use of defensives like Resonance or Reflect. But now that we have talked a little bit of each style of armor, the magic tank armor, the necromancy tank armor, the necromancy power armor, and even some of the hybrid armors, why would you not stick to one armor for everything and every style? Like, why would you not use Crypt Bloom for necromancy, or why would you not use Crypt Bloom for melee? Well, there is a thing coded into the game for this to make it not viable, and that is when you're wearing a style armor that's not the same as your weapon style, your accuracy has a debuff, which means your accuracy will be way less than it normally would be with no armor on or the correct style armor. Which means that overall you will do a lot less damage, which makes this not viable. There is sadly a lot of armors to look at, there's a lot of armors to get into, and a lot of armor has set effects like Necromancy Power Armor, the Necromancy Tank Armor, Crypt Bloom, Ghost Hunter, Obsidian, and even some like Melee, where you have the Masterwork armor, um, where it has this damage, not reduction, but it splits your damage into more hits. So if I'm using the 5 pieces of the Masterwork armor and I get hit at 10k, I'll get hit at 5k instantly, and the rest of the armor will deal with the remaining damage into smaller chunks, like a bleed, which means, again, you're not reducing the damage, you're just taking it over time. And this was really, really hyped up and overrated by people like the RS guy when it was released, because you could tank mechanics, but it wouldn't really help you. You still need to heal up, you still need to eat the same amount of food. You're just splitting damage up, so it's not one-shotting you. Well, you don't need to have this armor, because you can do the same thing with a Power Burst of Vitality for any big damage, like a Green Bomb 10k at Virago, or anything else that's powerful, like the bomb at Samarak, or anything like that, the pads at Solak, yeah, you can just use the power burst of Vitality and you'll be fine. Now, I didn't bring every type of armor here. I didn't bring the Havoc. I didn't really bring like the Dracolyph for range, but I have one last armor to look at, and that is range armor. Where you see here, I have one piece of Elite Sirenic and two pieces of normal Sirenic, and these don't stack for some reason. But yeah, anyway, they have a set effect. You can read about it on the tooltip, but there's also singular items which have effects which are not a part of a set. This is supposed to be Nightmare Gauntlets for range, but I accidentally brought the care pack wrist straps. So yeah, just imagine that these are Nightmare Gauntlets. You can look them up in the GE or Wiki if you want to read what they do. The point I'm trying to make here is that when you get to the end game and you use the top end armor, almost all pieces you have equipped will have some sort of effect. If it's a item specific effect or if it's a set effect that needs more pieces of the armor to be good. But then again, the only reason to use tank armor is to use Crypt Bloom with Enemy Dead combination if you're really struggling. Then again, you need a mage to really use this. There are a few situations like Racial where you can use 3 pieces of tank armor, like the Crypt Bloom helm, the gloves, and the boots, and you can still use the Enemy Dead, and you can still use Necromancy because your accuracy will actually be high enough even with the debuff. But overall, you don't really want to skip to magic just to get this Enemy Dead. It's strong, but it's not that strong. As for darkness, well, I mean, use it because there's no penalty, there's no debuffs, there's no reason to not use it. But don't think of it as it's going to save you or make you better at PVM because it's not. Uh, and there are, like I said, specific bosses like Ambassador and Racial where they just straight up ignore this. While it's still worse than the minions, the boss itself will straight up ignore this. So just take that into consideration. And remember, darkness is not tank armor specific. You can use power armor with it. So you could go in your power armor, you could still be on darkness, and you will still have the dodge effect, which is 20%, and the full tier 90 tank armor, the full set effect is 10%. 2% chance to dodge per piece worn. 5 pieces, 10%. But the darkness is 20% alone. That is not a big chance to dodge. And also, you can't dodge specific attacks or specific bosses will just ignore it, like typeless damage and stuff like that. You will still get hit. There's no way to stop it. So just think about it before you decide to stick to your Crypt Bloom or stick to your Death Warden. Consider using different things in different places. Obsidian armor is really great for suck-related things, especially while learning. Even Harakun or the fight caves if you need to. Ghost Hunter, again, like I talked about in my other video, it's ghost specific, so Rise of the Six and normal barrows and revenants is probably the only places you want to use this. And you would probably even consider using your normal armor because of the perks, or the suck cape would outperform this which means it's not super useful everywhere, and it has generally bad stats. But what is the end? What is the end result here? What are we actually looking at? We're looking at the DPS class armor, where you just get a set effect on most armors and a bunch of strength bonus to do more damage, which means as long as you know how the boss works and the mechanics that are coming, you can have no issue. You're gonna get hit a little bit harder. You can still use darkness, but at the end of the day, it's not going to make you die. If you die in power armor, you're most likely gonna die in tank armor. And if there's a difference, you have to work and improve yourself. But yeah, we looked at power armor, we looked at tank armor, we looked at hybrid armor. There are more armor set that I haven't shown, but that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. Ooh.